Okay, this video gives you a very basic overview of the components included with the Spearpoint 1943 Village and Defensive Line map expansion. So as you can see here, I've laid out all of the tiles and the double-sided map. These are all die-cut tiles and a mounted map, as well as die-cut counters. So real quickly, the function of each is the map is pretty straightforward. This is the basis of your front line in the game. So the map in this game replaces the front line of both players in the original card game, Spearpoint 1943. Along with the map, we have these tiles that are 4-inch square. They act as overlays for terrain, and they can actually, some of them, be destroyed. So some of these destructible tiles are pretty neat to see in action, as you can roll down the street with your tank or whatever and be knocking out buildings and firing artillery strikes onto the village and so forth, and that's pretty fun. So with each of these tiles, you get a different way to set up the game with every scenario you play, or standard game. And just to show you some of the awesome artwork here, this is, for example, a tiger wreck that might be a result of a disabled tiger in the village street. So just place it right there like that. So each of these tiles gives you a sense of the terrain for that particular village, and it's very simple to set up your town or your village per the scenario guidelines. Or for a standard game, you'll basically be choosing different tiles and placing them in any orientation you'd like. And just as simple as that, I've set up a very small village. So as players use these terrain tiles, you get more familiar with how they work and which ones can be destroyed, and what the functions are for each. So what I want to show you also is, we're just looking at one side of the map here. I'm going to flip this over and show you the defensive line side as well of this mounted board. The defensive line side of the map has a set of tiles associated with it as well. This is set in the winter of 1943. So each of these tiles has, for example, snow-covered roofs and bunkers and so forth that are really pretty neat to see in play. So as an inspiration, the defensive lines of Italy really went into these tiles. So for example, panther turret emplacements that you can have a hard time dealing with as an allied player, or MG nests or panzer nests, which were basically prefabricated bunkers buried in the ground, as well as natural cover, an Italian farmhouse that can be destroyed, all kinds of cool tiles that have gone into this, trenches, anti-tank traps, minefields, and so forth. So as you play, you'll get used to these tiles and how they all work, but every one of them is explained in the rules as far as their particular functions. And one of the key parts of these tiles is they tie into a concept that you'll use throughout the game called line of sight. So if you notice these highlighted edges, that does mean something for players in the game as far as figuring out if units can see each other in battle because of the particular terrain. So it's all built right in. So again, here's the defensive line side of the map with the associated feature tiles. Now, we also have these tracking counters, and just real briefly I want to show you the basic functions of them. They're basically to track different things in the game, including, most importantly, targeting. So for example, these paired targeting counters are numbered. So a target is sighted on a particular target, and when that target is fired upon, in other words, when the attack is complete, you can flip it over and it shows that that unit has fired. So very simple. There are a total of 8 for the US, which are shown here in blue, and 8 for the Germans. In addition, we have temporary endurance trackers. Basically, these are numbered counters that rotate to show the current endurance state of a unit. And there's 8 numbers per counter, double-sided. So for example, you would just orient it as the unit degrades. You would orient it to show the appropriate endurance remaining. We call it temporary endurance because endurance, basically units recover at the end of every turn, so that would go away if it's not damaged or destroyed. So we also have these other counters, for example, spotting for artillery, bombs depleted, turns of flight remaining for aircraft, smoke in a space, reserves entry points, overrun tracking, and initiative tracking. So again, those counters are all 1-inch square die cut, and they're useful throughout this game as well as the basic Spearpoint 1943 game. You can use those same counters to play the original game and track various functions there as well. So it's got a dual purpose there. Now again, the cards, the actual units, come from cards of either base set, Spearpoint 1943 or Spearpoint 1943 Eastern Front. These particular cards are from Spearpoint 1943. They are required to use to play this game, and they give you different damage effects and command functions, and they also describe every unit in the game. So again, these 175 cards from the basic game are used in the expansion as well, along with the 4 dice that are included in the basic game. So that is an overview of the components of the Spearpoint 1943 Village and Defensive Line map expansion, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now we're going to go into rules concepts with the next video.